All right guys, so what we're going to talk about now is my waterless wash process and kind of how I determine when a car is too dirty to do a waterless wash, or if it's just dusty and we're doing a wipe down. We're going to kind of run through a couple scenarios in this video explaining to you and trying to educate you as to what method to choose based off how dirty your car is. We took some panning shots of my M2 to hopefully capture. It's hard to capture on camera how dirty the car is right now. But the car is, I've taken it on like 3 or 4 drives, driven it around town a little bit, so it's pretty dirty. It's not filthy, there's not heavy amounts of mud or anything like that on it. It's just got a nice layer of road grime and dust. So the back of the car is always the dirtiest section. It's where all the turbulence is, and you really get a lot of dust and stuff that settles back here. So to illustrate what I would do if you're trying to do a waterless wash on a car that's not quite dirty enough to actually pull out a pressure washer or hose and really, invest the time in getting it wet, this is going to illustrate what I would do to safely, or as safe as possible, wash a pretty heavily soiled car while not getting it wet with water. So I've got my bucket with a couple microfiber wash mitts. I've got the grit guard in the bottom. I'm gonna use the rear bumper as my example piece because it's the dirtiest part of the car right now. And I'm gonna show you right now, worst case scenario, how I would wash a car that's, pretty dang dirty, what I would do. So, I've got a couple gallons of water in here, buckets filled to about yay, grit guards down here. I'm just gonna do a couple ugga-duggas of Ecoshine. That looks about right. I don't really do any exact mix measurement when I'm doing this. I just kind of look for a light creamy consistency if you want to try to get that on camera. Just kind of a milky, creamy consistency. It's not a whole lot of product, but it's not going to hurt if you use too much. Like I said in the other video, Ecoshine's a pretty cheap product, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Another thing you can do is some of these buckets have a lid. I've done it in the past where I'll mix up maybe a full bucket and then just put the lid on and save it, and I'll get 2 or 3 waterless washes out of that. And as long as you have a grit guard in the bottom, a lot of the heavy dirt's gonna fall down. So I'll pick up a mitt, give it a little wring. It's still pretty wet. It's not sopping and totally dripping, but it's pretty wet. Now what I really want to illustrate to you guys is how to do this safely and not scratch the paint, especially if it's a ceramic coated car. My car is completely wrapped in PPF, which it works great on that because you don't have to worry about scratching, but on a ceramic coated car, we really want to avoid scratching. So what I like to do is with my wet mitt, I'll lay it on the surface and just make a couple passes. And you can see in that one pass all the dirt that the mitt just picked up. Try to flip it around to a slightly cleaner area, make another pass. Make another pass. Come over here, just make a pass. So you're just trying to do slow passes, just lifting the dirt away from the surface. And you can see how dirty it's starting to get. Don't get back in the bucket. You can also grind it against the grit guard, get some of that stuff out. Wring it out. Helps if you have like 2, 3, 4 of these things in the bucket so you can just kind of cycle them out. Sometimes you could also have a rinse bucket as well with just water and do a rinse and then go back to your Ecoshine. It'll help stretch the Ecoshine longer. Personally, I usually just mix up a small batch of this and then toss it. That way I'm not being super wasteful. So just slow passes over the surface, just trying to lift that stuff up. Gets really dirty down here below the wheel, so I'm gonna flip to a fresh side and just try to do one light little pass. Throw that back in there. So when I'm at home trying to move quickly, my whole thing with doing a wash like this is that it saves time so that I'm not killing 3-4 hours to clean my car. I don't have a lot of spare time to waste 3-4 hours often just washing my car. So I try to be quick, efficient, safe. That's my main focus with this process. So once it's kind of sopping wet like this, I'll then take my fluffy high pile microfiber towel. Sometimes I use compressed air if I really get a ton of Ecoshine slopped around on the surface. And same thing, I just want to take the towel, fold it in quarters, and just start making some passes and just quickly drying the surface off. And I'm just trying to clean up my leftover Ecoshine. I like to keep the towel folded in quarters as much as possible so I can really maximize the surface area of the towel and not kill 5 or 6 towels in this process. And the key here, like I said, is just passes. You never want to take anything on a dirty surface and start going like this. You're not cleaning any better. You're just going to be scratching the surface. So just focus on little passes. I've gone up and down over here because this reflector delete traps a lot of dust. So I'll just try to get that picked up. Come down towards the bottom, pass, flip the towel, pass. So I'll go over the entire car like this, usually working one panel at a time, monitoring how dirty my microfiber wash mitts are getting, wringing them out, rinsing them out as necessary, making sure they're as clean as possible, maintaining my focus that I'm just making sweeping passes, lifting the dirt off the surface, not grinding it into the surface. Once I'm done with all my Ecoshine passes, hyper soft towel, clean up my Ecoshine, make sure it's as dry as possible. Sometimes at home I get really heavy-handed with the Ecoshine. I'm also a little obsessive. I'll go back with compressed air over all the nooks and crannies, blow those out. So once I'm done with Ecoshine, drying off the Ecoshine, blowing out cracks and crevices if I choose to do so, I then take one of my lower pile microfiber towels and I go back around the whole car one more time. On my car, I usually like to use Punch It. Like I said in the product video, Punch It's loaded with SiO2. Pretty easy to wipe down. Gets a little streaky at times, but you can work around that. So for demonstration purposes on this panel, for this half of the bumper that I did, I'll do about a spritz like that, a spritz there, and a spritz there. That's all you need for that section. So on a rear bumper, I'd say about, 5 spritzes. You don't need to saturate the surface. Now at this point, since it's clean, my direction doesn't matter. I can go back and forth a little bit more, kind of just go over it. Not super concerned about scratching at this point because it should be clean, and just try to level off the product. That's my wet side. I'm gonna flip to the dry side and just come back and do a couple more passes looking for any streaks and just try to clean those up. And that's it. So my whole focus with this again is just speed. I'm trying to get this done quick, but safe, not waste a lot of time. This is how I would do the entire car. Obviously this is stealth paint protection film, so same concept applies for gloss paint protection film. We're gonna move to another part of the car and I'm gonna demonstrate it on gloss so you guys can see it on gloss. This is also the same way I would do it on a ceramic coated car, maybe using a little bit more caution, and maybe rather than using the thin microfiber towel for my detail spray step or my punch it step or my throttle, whatever detail spray you choose to use, I'd maybe use another high pile towel on a ceramic coated car, just because it's going to be a little more insurance that you're not going to scratch the surface. So let's flip the car around and I'll show you guys on a gloss panel now. So moving to the front of the car, I'm just going to show you guys how I would do it on a gloss surface. Like I said in the back, same principle as satin finish paint protection film, just for contrast and whatnot, just to give you guys another visual. I've got my mitt, it's pretty wet. It's not super dripping, but it's definitely saturated. I'm gonna start at the top. You always wanna work top down, make a pass, and you can see how it's, you know, barely dirty. The front of the car doesn't usually get as bad as the back. Same thing, make another pass. As I get down towards the bottom though, where the tires are gonna be kicking stuff up, try to do a couple short little passes. And the rocker panel you can really see is filthy. Touch up around that a little bit more. Throw that back in there. Grab my cleanup rag. And same thing, just make a couple passes. Trying to lift the dirt off the surface. All right. And then for noise reasons, I'm not going to use the air compressor, but I would usually come back and just blow out any little intricate areas again real quick with the air compressor, just to blow out any residual product. I really don't like it when I drive away and I have a bunch of streaks down the side of the car. Punch it, spritz, little spritz, little spritz. This one bottle of Punch It will last a long time if you use it sparingly. You don't need a whole lot. A couple passes. Touch this up a little bit. Wipe it down. So I don't know if you guys saw, but I had flipped the towel to the dry side. A lot of times I use 2 towels. Since we're just working one panel at a time, I'm just going to use the 1 towels. All right, so again guys, using the bucket of Ecoshine, the couple additional towels, the whole purpose of that is when your car is pretty soiled but not quite dirty enough to invest the time getting it wet. Usually I wash my car, this car, with water maybe once a month. If I'm just doing canyon drives on the weekend, screwing around town, it doesn't ever really get dirty enough that I need to invest the time getting it wet with water. I'm also fairly water conscious. I like to try to conserve water at home. So time, water conservation, safety, it's a great way to go about doing this. I'm just gonna cruise down to the door. The door is pretty dusty. It's not as dusty as the rear of the car. And I'm gonna show you guys another way to do a wipe down using ignition, because ignition, like I said in the product video, is 50% waterless wash and like 50% punch it. So it's kind of a combination of the two. You can use it as a standalone detail spray, but it's also made to be part waterless wash. So the car is pretty dirty and the bumper and the front fender are, again, really dirty. I really just wanted to illustrate the bucket method to try to be as safe as possible. If you've got about an hour, hour and a half set aside, you can run around the whole car, do the wheels. That's usually about all it takes me to, do the bucket method with the Ecoshine, dry the car, blow it out, run around with Punch It, clean all the wheels, dress the tires, do the windows inside and out. Hour and a half for a 2-door car, Tesla Model 3, something like that. Most of the time with my truck, it gets so filthy just sitting outside all the time, I just wash it with water or have one of my friends wash it with water. So another thing a lot of people ask us all the time is, what do I do if my car is just a little bit dusty or it's not that dirty? how do I safely clean it? Another thing I've seen over the years is a lot of Corvette owners specifically using the California car duster. If you're a California car duster owner, I want you to take that thing and put it in the trash can. The dirtier it gets, the more it scratches your paint. So it does not work. All it does is scratch, especially if you don't have paint protection film on your car. So for a car that's fully wrapped in PPF or a car that is ceramic coated, it's just lightly dusty. Maybe you are going to a car show. I always like to use some sort of lubrication. So what I'm trying to illustrate here on the door is just if the car is lightly dusty, or maybe you just went for one drive, came home, you want to quickly wipe the car down. I would choose Ignition, and I want you to really pay attention to how much I apply to the surface. So that becomes more crucial. With the Punch It, I've been trying to illustrate how little it takes. With a one-step wipe down, you do need to use a little bit more product. So I'm gonna saturate the whole door, soak the whole door. So quite a few spritzes. It's not on jet, it's on fine mist. I'm gonna have 2 Hypersoft towels. I wanna use Hypersoft towels, especially if the car is just ceramic coated and does not have PPF. And I still really want to focus on just making my passes. I always look at the towel too and see how much dirt am I picking up. Do I need to flip to a clean side? Got a little bit more dirt there, so I'm gonna flip to a clean side. Not too bad on the dirt. Probably wanna flip on this one. All right, get under the door handle a little bit. Car's trying to unlock. Now with my second clean, dry towel, I'm just gonna come back through, get tight to the belt molding, under the mirror, flipped it, and just start working down. Check in my light for any streaks. Black is very notorious for streaks. And that's it. Door is now clean. So you can see how a one-step is a lot quicker, but again, you as the owner of the vehicle, the person that invested in paint protection film or ceramic coating, you need to learn to make the decision of what tools to use for what job. You can't always just do this. The car might just be too dirty and you just spent thousands to have it ceramic coated and polished and the paint made look perfect. We want to try to protect that investment as long as we can and not, digress back to swirling the car and putting rids in it, scratching it, whatever it may be. I want you guys to feel comfortable maintaining your car, keeping it shiny for a long time. So you need to learn to make the judgment call of when it's too dirty to do what, or what methods to choose. If you're ever just totally unsure, just err on the side of caution, go to the bucket method, follow up with the detail spray. That's gonna be a safe bet if you don't wanna get it wet. So that's a wrap for the one-step wipe down with a detail spray or Ignition.